Have you ever wondered how a simple mobile game has been up and successful for nearly a decade, making about 16% of the generated revenue of one of the biggest IPs in the entire world? If so, you have come to the right place. Welcome to the channel. I'm the legendary Ploof, and this is the first episode of a very long series where I'm going to take you through the entire history of the hit mobile game Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle. We first heard of Dokkan in the November issue of V-Jump back in 2014. They gave us very little information about the game back then, but it didn't really matter because the game was officially released only 2 months later, exclusively in Japan. We had to wait about another 6 months for a global release of the game. The game first launched in January 2015. When the game was initially released, there wasn't any content outside of the quest mode. Literally, the main home button was just the quest mode. There was no Dokkan events, no story events, no growth stages, no Z battles. All you could do was the quest mode. That's actually such a crazy thing to think about, considering how far the game has come. Nonetheless, the game launched with 4 SSR characters who were featured in the first ever banner. Isn't it funny that the first 4 SSRs of this game are 2 Gokus and 2 Vegetas? Like, it's been set in stone since the very first day that this was going to be a Gokus and Vegetas game. They were obviously the best cards in the game, with Tech Vegeta and Strength Goku being the best ones, but Strength Goku was unfeatured on the launch banner, so Tech Vegeta was seen by many as the best unit in the game at the time. The leader skill meta at the time was 3 types plus 30% attack, so super attacks were pretty rare thing to see back then. The SSR rates were also extremely low, something like 2% with no guaranteed SSR. The game was brutal. There was no Baba Shop, no Dokkan Awakening of any kind, no hidden potential system. You could only raise the SA of a card by feeding it to the exact same card, not a card of the same name. There was no Satan statues, so most people had like no Zenny, and the training system. Bro, you could only use 5 training items maximum at the same time. And everything was so slow that it took literally ages just to train a character. Not only that, but I'm pretty sure that there was no time to speed back then, so you had to play the game on normal speed, and everything was just so slow. And if you're an OG, you probably remember that Zenny animation, and you couldn't even dodge it because you needed the Zenny, bro. You needed the Zenny. Anyways, 1 week and a half later, they released the first event to the game, the Epic Showdown event, where you could get a copy of a free-to-play Air Goku and awaken him into an SSR Percent Goku. He was a very good filler unit at the time, and if you were lucky, he could do some damage. 6 days later, the first story event came, where you could farm an Arcade Gohan. I know it's hard to believe, but this guy was very good at the time. He was farmable with an alright drop rate, by the standard of the time obviously. His super attack lowered defense, which was very useful back then, and his passive had a chance to raise all allies attack by 25%. A fully essayed level and Z awakened Arcade Gohan was actually a decent option back then. Just 1 day later, they released the second banner into the game, featuring Int Percent Gohan and Physical Piccolo with 3 new SRs, SR Nappa, SR Yamcha, and SR Raditz. They both had decent passives and leader skills. Pretty much the only 2 things that mattered at the time. Well, actually the Metamorphosis and Namekian links were very OP back then because of that bug where you could proc them 3 times in the same turn. So you could easily heal up to 15% of your health every turn or 2. And this single-handedly gave more value to Physical Piccolo. You could link him with AGL Arnel, who debuffed strength types enemies, and you had like a very tanky rotation. But honestly, any other Nel would have worked at the time, even the one that has no passive. That's just how broken that bug was. On JP exclusively, they gave away a free SR Frieza via V-Jump codes or something like that. There's not much to say about this guy as of now, but I think it's funny that his passive is literally big bad bosses at Link level 1. Anyways, we also got our first ever strike event, SR Vegeta. He was like a very good unit. The problem with him is that the drop rates were pretty low unless you were like playing on the Z hard difficulty, which was not doable for a lot of people back then. But yeah, if we were able to farm him, this guy had a phenomenal leader skill for the time and a pretty decent passive. He was probably the second best SR in the game. Also, if you ever wondered what kind of card people were rerolling for back in the days, well, word got out pretty fast at the time that the best card to reroll for was actually SR First Form Frieza. He had a decent leader skill, 50% attack to all types, his super attack effect lowered the enemy's attack, and his passive gave him an unconditional 1500 attack. which was something at the time. He also had the Metamorphosis link, so you could link him up with any Zarbon card, and just like Piccolo and Nail, heal up to 15% HP in a single turn. Before the end of February, they dropped another banner featuring Final Form Frieza and Xenotrunks to promote the new Dragon Ball Xenoverse game. Frieza was an absolute monster. He was the first card in the game to have a supreme SA multiplier, coupled with his 145% key multiplier and 30% start of turn attack buff. This guy was easily the hardest hidden card in the game, taking the throne out of strengths for Sengoku. Honestly, it's actually crazy to think that at one point in time, Frieza was actually the best unit in the game. Like, bro, that's crazy. He had the best SSR and the best SR. Like, think about it, bro. Think about it. While also having the best banner the game has known so far. It was the first banner to give you a guaranteed SR per multi-summon, because yes, SR at the time were pretty valuable. On the other hand, Xenotrunk was not that great. Like, he was simply a worse version of the physical Piccolo that dropped earlier that month, since he didn't have the Namekian link. Anyways guys, this is the end of the video. If you like this type of content, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you have some bucks to spare, you really don't have to, it's only if you have the money to spare, you can now officially support the channel with your wallet by becoming a member. 100% of that money will be reinvested back into the channel. You'll get some cool icons next to your name, and you'll be able to get early access to new videos if I'm ahead of schedule. I appreciate all of your support. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.